your computer.
So I began recording just a second ago.
Good.
Yeah, I went to record. Yeah, now it says pause recording, so it looks like it's going.
It is going.
So hello, everyone. This class is the Crisis Intervention and Community Mental Health 606. And one of the projects at the end is to identify a crisis and present about it and different dynamics of the crisis. So we're going to talk about teen suicide crisis. And I created a guide. So it has a lot of slides, but I'm only going through some of them and I'll go pretty high level in spirit of time and respect to time. And I
Thank
will
you.
share the slides with Dr. Tracy in case anybody would like them.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about understanding the crisis dynamic and risk for suicide. What is identifying suicide risk in teens, and then the mental landscape with teens, and then what are the causes and risk factors, and intervention models. What is the impact, wider impact of teen suicide, especially in their family members? We'll focus on that. The ethical considerations of the minor consent laws, community and resource program that we have in California, that it's free for minors. We're going to talk about 3 stories of resilience and then some closing thoughts. So let's take it away. So let me see. I could see everybody on the side. So I'm moving the what is it? The little your little heads. So what is a mental crisis? It's a couple of things. So it's an acute disruption that happens to our psychological stability. So with teens, it may show us suicidal ideation with severe anxiety. It requires immediate intervention, pronto. The key is to assess and the intensity, number one, duration, number two, and then number three, the impact of the syndrome, the symptoms. There's 3 types of crisis, and the teens crisis falls under maturational, developmental, transitional crisis, like becoming an adolescent. We have 2 other ones as well. So, in regards to why I wanted to talk about teen suicide is because it's one of the top crises in the USA, along with serious mental illness in general, substance abuse, access to care is actually a crisis in the USA. But the teen suicide ideation is pretty high up. What are some warning signs? So we have verbal signs, like people talking about death, maybe talking about being hopeless, helpless. Behavioral, like you notice people withdrawing, right? Or maybe they start drinking or doing substance. Emotional, sudden calm after distress, disconnected. Physical, changes in sleep, appetite, or hygiene. So as far as like some of the numbers that really hit home for me, 19.5% of teens had a major depressive episode in the past year. 60% of them, and this is 2024 data, 60% of them received no treatment. And suicide is the second leading cause of death for people ages 10 to 34, based on the 2024 State of Mental Health in America. Some 2023 facts that go really granular. 22% of high school students seriously consider suicide. 9% attempted. And where it's happening the most is in the study Native American in Alaskan and Native teens. And with these ages of 14 to 18 for the study, suicide is the third leading cause. The great thing about it is school connectedness reduces risk by 15%. So the students being part of the community in school is really important. So for us, and for you in the practicums, right? If you have a teenager looking to see what the support system is at school or their attendance, for instance, connecting the dots with that support. The top 5 causes of death in teens: accidents, number one, 2 is homicide, 3 is suicide. Then you have cancer and heart disease. Suicide is a leading and preventable costs. For teen suicide, why are the rates rising? Number one, mental health disorders. 95% of suicides involve untreated conditions. Number two is the one we're hearing a lot, especially because of social media, bullying, cyberbullying. Then there's family dysfunction, and there's other causes such as social media, academic stress, and isolation. So the parents, that you work with, things that they could see in a chart really, what is it, high level, quick, and easy. Recognize risk factors in like mental disorders and bullying. Two, watch for warning signs, like the ones we're talking about in the behavior. Remove access to lethal means. Make sure we do an audit in the house and ensuring that there's no lethal means for the most part, of course. But I was thinking about what about the knives in the kitchen? How do we handle that? So maybe that's something that we can talk about at the end of this time. I just parked that thought, okay? Wanted to be transparent. Foster open and judgment-free communication as well. What about navigating a mental health crisis like it's happening, right? How do you de-escalate? So stay calm and model stability, right? It's like the emotional regulation for us, like taking breaths, like bringing ourselves back. Listen actively and validate the feelings of the person. Assess suicide risk, and there's a form that, there's a link to here in the kit. Seek help and ensure follow-up support as well. So stay, listen, assess, and seek. Do's and don'ts, like similar, do listen, take threats seriously, and seek help, like immediately. Don't dismiss feelings or leave the teen alone or promise secrecy. Do respond with urgency and empathy. There's a 7-stage crisis intervention model that, we have here. I won't go into all the different steps, but it's really comprehensive. And if we follow the steps, we're able to manage the different aspects of the crisis, the person, the timeliness of it. There's a safety plan intervention plan that I located online. It's called Stanley Brown Safety Plan, and it helps with identifying the triggers, coping strategies, the securing the lethal means, and it reduces attempts by 50% by having and implementing a safety plan, which is pretty awesome, 50% reduction. And there's a link to here. So as far as the assessment strategy, because that's the safety plan right now, this is an assessment strategy using tools like the Columbia Suicide Severity Rating Scale is effective. You ask open-ended, non-leading questions. You gather input also from teachers, peers, family, right? Not just the family. Formulate the risk based on intent, plan, means, and proactive factors. So let's look at the Columbia assessment. I put a little screenshot of it. Oh, I'm sorry. And I have a link of it here. It's hard for me to really go into it here, but there's questions here at the top left about wishing to be dead, non-specific active suicidal thoughts, active suicidal ideation with any methods, no plan with that intent to act. And then the other question at the bottom of that, number 4, is if they do have a plan. So that's the assessment that we would complete. I'm going to move on. Any questions so far? If you have any feedback, we can go over at the end. I wanted to be respectful in this period of time to see if there's any questions. So this was really eye-opening for me because, I think of cognitive behavior therapy a lot, right? Like almost like for me, it could solve so many things. So when researching about what is the best, for treating suicidal ideation and then focusing on teens is dialectical behavior therapy. because it teaches emotional regulation and mindfulness. When we have, a teen that's suicidal or ideation about suicide, there's the aspect of not being emotionally regulated. So through the exercises that in the counseling, the focus is through DBT, it's on emotional regulation. There's also the aspect that DBT has of validating the teen and creating a supportive structure that helps them be accountable but feel heard. So between the tools of regulation and the validation and support, this process helps and reduces self-harm by up to 70%. Let's see. And I have this for you in case you want to compare how each of them work. But I put a little star on the things that matter most, I believe. Framework for CBT is cognitive focus and modifying the thoughts, right? And with DBT, you balance acceptance and change. You target the actual emotions, right? And the challenge thoughts to reduce stress for CBT. And for DBT, you validate the emotions, then you teach regulation. So the success rate is pretty close, but I mean, when you think about saving someone, I'll go with DBT. And of course, if I could use some of the aspects of CBT that I can combine with it, that'll be great too. And homework assignment that you can give a teen. So, like with CBT is the thought records. With DBT, it's the skills practice. Complete a diary cards to monitor emotions and use skills like mindfulness or distress tolerance. Review a chain analysis as well. So it's more skills based, action based with actual tools. And they're used to doing homework at that point in their life. So it seems like that it's pretty practical. We're switching gears. So how is a family affected by suicide? Family dysfunction increases the risk of suicide, just in general. The aftermath is the guilt, the prolonged grief, and the isolation that people would go through. I mean, imagine the devastation of having lost the child to suicide, that we could never, imagine what a parent must be going through or went through. There's 3 legal factors, and we've learned about these. The one that's more unique to the teens is the consent law. So teens above 10 may consent to treatment. So what does that scenario look like really quick? So the parental involvement is not always required if it would be deemed inappropriate by the therapist. And what is deemed inappropriate? So, for instance, we have a teenager, she's 13-year-old girl experiencing anxiety about her gender identity, seeks counseling at school. The therapist finds her emotionally mature and starts therapy sessions with her consent alone. Involving her parents may cause distress or rejection. So the part that they check the box that would be legal to do with the parental involvement not needed is that it would be inappropriate because it could cause distress or rejection to the teen. Let's see.
And this is in California.
Yeah, this is for California. Okay. In researching about what are tools that are being used that are almost like the link between like a parent, a kid, and a counselor. Like what's something that could help the child cope with their feelings and express their feelings. So there's this program by Cal Hope, which is a government funded program there, and there's 2 different ranges for ages and 2 different programs where they have one-on-one coaching or texting where they talk to someone virtually as well, like a mental health coach, community health worker, basically, who is focusing on mental health. And you'll see in a little bit. So I don't know, you might have seen those in YouTube. They have videos, the advertisements. So Bright Life Kids is for ages 0 to 12. And this is mental health coaching and resources for parents and kids. And the focus on emotions and how they're handling emotions. How was their day at school? Things like that. What is causing them frustrations? What are ways that they could cope with that? So that's Bright Life. For ages 13 to 25 is Soluna, which is equal to Bright Life for an older generation. And this is when you go to Soluna, this is what the website talks about, the process of the coaching. They could also join support groups as well. So this is something that you could provide as a resource to your clients by Cal Hope. Let's see, we're almost at the end. So, I was looking on the internet for stories from teens about coming out successful and thriving after a suicidal attempt. So we have a story from Alex. Alex overcame bullying-induced suicidal thoughts through peer support. Maya found hope after a suicide attempt via therapy and art. Jordan battled depression in silence, healed with family intervention. So these narratives inspire counselors to amplify unheard voices and be aware of the diverse avenues for treatment. So, at the end of the day, a lot of this is about how to react to something happening, right? So I was like, well, what can parents do to prevent this, right? At the end of the day. And there's 4 suggestions. One of them, foster open communication, which, open communication is like the answer to so many things, like problems in the workplace, marital problems, and, problems with the child or by the child. Number 2 is promote strong family connections, spend regular family time, sit on the table, right? Ensure that, the phones might be off, setting those boundaries, right? How many times do we go into a restaurant and we see the parents on the phone and the kids are on the phone and how long did they actually talk to each other, It's quite shocking. And then next thing you know, I go with a friend or two and then I see it happening and I'm like, oh, I don't know that I'm gonna tell them, Yeah, but it happens closer than we see it in our circle. Number 3, monitor and limit stressors. So identify and reduce triggers like academic pressure and bullying. So know what's going on with your child, right? Talk to your child so you can identify if something might be happening behind the scenes. Do a scan on that. And encourage healthy coping skills like through the model from like Cal Hope, right? Bright Life Kids, Solona. You could help find those tools to help you as a parent um, to succeed with your children. So almost at the end. So summary: crisis recognition, intervention, and legal awareness is key, right? For therapists and for families. Understand social, economic, and family impact because it all blends, right? And creates the situation and could amplify it or reduce it. Use evidence-based tools and real-life stories to guide action. And in conclusion, teen suicide is preventable with proactive care. And you, beautiful faces, you will master or might be mastering crisis management and be an advocate for change. How awesome that, in this universe, we are here to make this impact and to save lives, right? Support and save lives with compassion and evidence-based practice and with the Holy Spirit, right? For us Christians. And and I think for me, that's it.
Very good. Excellent.
Oh,
You want to
thank
stop your recording?
Yeah. Let me see. Let me go to stop. I just